we go. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court for June 10th, 2021, our work session. And we welcome everybody to the work session for tonight. Before we get started, we're going to start with Jack Brewer, the retired minister from the United Methodist Church, and a fantastic tennis player, to lead us in prayer. Mr. Brewer, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. Shall we pray together? Almighty God, these are difficult times and for many people, very hard times. But we're so glad that whatever it is, rainy or sunny, hot or cold, we always have the confidence that your love for us never changes. So we appreciate and we ask for blessings upon our fiscal court, upon our judge, and upon all our city officials and county officials. Lord, I know this has been a hard time for them, but also they have been faithful. And so we praise you for them and ask your blessing upon them and their families. So as we now go through this work session today, whatever is on the agenda, may it not only be blessed by the hard work of this fiscal court, but also by your love and your discernment that you give each one of us. You give us so very, very much. Give us one more thing, Lord. Give us a grateful heart. Pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that grateful heart too, my friend. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the tennis courts, Mr. Jack Brewer.
I'm not praying so well. It's either the humidity or the humanity. I don't know what it is.
I understand that very well. Thanks again.
Right.
Appreciate all that you do. Before we go into the next item on the agenda, I'm going to ask Chief Hutcherson and Brian Brewer if they could come on the screen. Chief, or can you? There you go, Chief. Thank you, Chief. There, obviously, every day of every week, all year long, our fire department is out doing things for our community. They've been recognized for something special, Chief, and it's called the labor of love. So would you talk a little bit about that, and let's honor our fire department for this great deed of helping someone in our community.
Thanks, Judge. This is a story some of the firefighters picked up on Facebook. Pretty sad tale that you can't have something for an individual out in your front yard and expect it to be there the next day. But regardless of how or what occurred, the guys picked up on it and felt the calling to do something good for the Robinson family and this young man Gideon. And I'm very proud of them. I know Chief Brewer is too. That this is the type of people that we have. Just they're looking to give back to the community.
Chief, if you don't mind, can you give us their names?
Sure, Judge. I'm not sure whether it's your left or right, from the gentleman with the sunglasses on with the address right behind his shoulder. That's Josh Binion. Captain Daniel next in line. Let's see, Engineer Redding, Battalion Chief Other. Who we got next there, Chief?
That's gonna be Firefighter Chris Cutter.
Firefighter Chris Cutter and Captain Mertz. In the front with the firefighter, well, both of them have firefighter helmets on. That may be Zeke, the taller one, and of course this is Gideon with the one that's a little shorter there.
And they built this station that was taken from this young man. Is that way the story goes, Chief?
They saw the story on he's cerebral palsy, and this water table originally was built for him and his condition to help advance his skills and abilities. And unfortunately, it disappeared. The guys saw the story on Facebook, came to us and asked us if they could do something for him. Didn't ask for money, didn't ask for anything else, and I thought it was a great idea. They went to the local Lowe's here in Frankfurt. Not necessarily anticipating any breaks or whatever else. They were going to pay for the water table out of their pockets, but Lowe's really stepped up and supplied the materials, which was a unbelievably gracious thing to do for our community. And then they went to Walmart. Evidently, the water table comes with certain types of items, toys, so forth. Went to Walmart, and believe it or not, they stepped up also and supplied the toys.
Well, that's fantastic. Squire Moore?
That's really awesome. In this day and time, that amount of lumber is about a week's or a month's pay, maybe, depending on where you work.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not cheap. I was surprised, but very pleased with the community involvement all the way around.
Chief, does that use, you hook a hose up to it, or it doesn't have a pump or anything, does it?
My understanding is that you do hook a hose up to it. Chief Brewer, wasn't there a circulating pump also?
Yes, the water table set up to have a pump to recirculate the water back up to the top, so they don't continuously use water.
Yeah, that's good.
Is it my understanding that he had one and it was taken, somebody stole it? Is that, am I right in that?
It disappeared. Yes, sir. We're not investigators. We'll leave that to Sheriff QUIRE, but
Okay, yeah. But, so Brian and Chief Brewer and Chief Hutcherson, really great story that our fire department, our men stepped up to help. It's fantastic. And we send out let's right here, all of us, let's give them, our fire department, a great big round. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Awesome. Stepping up like that. Please tell them that we recognize them and that we're very proud of them and so appreciative.
yes, sir, we will.
All right. Thanks, chiefs. Thank you. And to the guys too. All right. The next item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our regular meeting. Anybody have any questions, anything on the minutes from our meeting of May 27th? All right, let's go to the next item. The next item is Sheriff QUIRE. Are you on? We're going to receive your 2020 tax collection settlement. Sheriff QUIRE. Andrew, is Sheriff QUIRE on? Let's see, what is it? How much is that? Okay, I don't hear.
Sorry, Judge, I don't believe he's on.
Okay. Well, we're going to receive, Susan, do you have that? You want to talk about that? Can you help us with that? The $5 million.
I'm not, well, we already received a report in the packet, and the thing I look at is, of course, our own jurisdiction and the amount that they turn over to our own jurisdiction. But as far as all districts, I'm sure the sheriff would claim that over $46 million was handled by the department in tax collections, and also that translated to $1.4 million, over $1.4 million in commissions for the sheriff's operations. So that 1.4 million in commissions is a good figure to see, a good solid figure to see that our county taxpayers pay their property taxes. So and is Sheriff QUIRE back on now?
Yes, Sheriff QUIRE's on.
Take it over, Sheriff.
All right, there you go, Sheriff. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed that first part, but yeah, the tax total bills was 23,384, and the collection rate was at 99.01 of the base tax collected. So we're really proud of that.
You said thousand. I think you meant million. didn't you?
Uh, well, I was talking about the percentage. Yeah, we collected 40,655,000, and then there was 4,068 in franchise bills.
Okay, and how does this compare to last year's, Sheriff? Can you recall? I didn't mean to put that on you, but if you can.
I don't have last year's, but I do know that the bills that we turned over to the clerk on April 15th were down this year. It was 636 bills, and I think it was like 50 less than last year, if I recall that right.
Oh, you mean on delinquent taxes?
Right. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Sheriff, I'll be getting that money to him right away. On delinquent taxes.
Okay.
All right. All right. Any questions for Sheriff QUIRE on collection? No questions. So Sheriff, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
The next item is second reading and approval of an ordinance with the Franklin County Fiscal Court approving a local participation agreement relating to the establishment and implementation of a downtown TIF district with the city of Franklin. We have 3 people on from the city that can answer any questions if you have those. Mr. Eric Cockley, Laura Ross, and Mr. Jim Parsons. Welcome, Eric, Laura, and Jim. Thank you for being on, and Court, yield to you and any questions that you have about the TIF that we've talked about. Squire Booth first. Okay, Squire Booth.
I can't remember every change that we wanted in that agreement, but I am assuming that our deputy judge took care of that and put it in the agreement that we have in our records now.
Well, and Mr. Parsons too. Mr. Parsons, would you review those concerns that we had and changes?
Yeah, I'll be glad to, and thank you. First of all, I made a few just technical corrections that based upon the help that Squire Sebastian provided at the last meeting. So those are just edit cleanups, but the major changes that were made is in the ordinance and also in the local participation agreement to limit the county pledge of its 50% of its incremental revenues from real estate taxes and occupational taxes to the 20-year term, or until the costs are actually paid that are set forth in the agreement, or the $1,500,000 cap, whichever first occurs. So that was one of the major changes. The other change that was added in the agreement was to make the change so that existing jobs from existing businesses that might relocate into the district are not counted in the new revenue calculation. So we did make that change. In addition to that, I think there was a request to add the county treasurer for notices under the agreement. That change was made. I believe those were the major substantive changes. There were just a few cleanup issues where I had made some edits. There was a reference to special districts that originally we were talked about. I cleaned that up. So I think I made all the edits that were requested, and those were reviewed. I worked with the deputy county judge as well as the county attorney to be sure everything was done in accordance with. So I'm pretty sure we made all the edits that were requested by the fiscal court at its last meeting.
Mr. Let's see, Parsons. I'm sorry. I was thinking whether to ask you or Laura Ross the question. So I'll throw this question out. What is the next step? Let's suppose that this passes in our regular meeting, it's voted on and passes. So what is the next step in this process? Laura or Mr. Parsons, either one, whoever can help with that question.
I think the next step is the city then adopts it also and gets everything final. And then once the pledge agreements are in effect, the ordinances have been adopted and the local participation agreement executed, then I think concurrently with that, we will be meeting to discuss the application process to the state and working that process through. We cannot apply to the state for any state incentives until such time as the local ordinances have been adopted. And so I think that would be the next step. And I think the county would be part of those discussions also as we meet with the developer, meet with the city, and then meet with the developer city and the city, county, and developer, and then move forward on the state application process. We are anticipating that most of the application will be prepared by the developer for this, but the cost of the application process and things, any filing fees to the state per the development agreement is a city obligation. But that's the next step for implementation.
Okay, thank you. Squire Mueller has a question.
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Laura, question. Have you all heard anything on the federal funds as far as if it is actually going to happen or not?
Hi, yes, we are still in the process of working out some details and some questions they have for us. So at this point, we're still just waiting and hoping to get some things worked out so that we can move on with that as soon as possible.
Are they giving you any kind of timeline, like 30 days or anything?
No, we don't have a current timeline. I think it's going to depend on several issues and some issues that we get resolved for them that are hopefully going to be taken care of, and we'll get moving on this thing.
Thank you.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. And I want to call, this is a question actually for our treasurer on page 15, item 5. Number 5, there's a time frame to work with the city finance director and the county treasurer to certify and distinguish what are old revenues from what will be considered the new revenue and taxable at that point. I just want to make sure that this gives adequate time for her to handle all other duties that she has to do in regard to closing out a fiscal year, starting a new fiscal year, getting ready to launch from an ending a federal fiscal year and getting ready to launch into a new federal fiscal year. So there's a lot of timing things going on here. So I just want to ask her if she feels confident that she'll have the time to do what she needs to take care of here.
Thank you, Squire Sebastian, for always looking out for the finances and the direction that it takes to administer those. September 1st, 2021, obviously is how many months away? Very close, 3 or 4 months away. But prior to that, we have to receive certification. I believe the way this is interpreted is we have to receive certification of our tax assessments. Mr. Parsons, isn't that correct? And then based on our certified assessments for 2021 versus our assessments for 2020, some calculation with the difference there, and the city is going to have to abide by this as well. So to the extent that the state is timely in the certifications and the court is also timely in setting a rate that will predict what those revenues are, then we can do the calculation. So I'm kind of a sweeper crew already, always. I'm dependent on a lot of others for having the information on a time frame. So, but yes, I'm aware of the notification, and I'm glad that that's included on behalf of the county.
Yeah, and I'll make one clarification if I could. We don't need any 2021 certifications. What needs to be certified is the old revenues for 2020, which is the base year. And so in that situation, quite frankly, even though there's a date in the agreement, because if you don't meet that exact date to get it certified, it's not that significant. Not that we want to follow what the agreement says, but ultimately what the city and county need to do is come to an understanding of what the amount in the base, because you don't need the base until actually you start the activation of the TIF.
Right.
So even if you don't meet that specific date, as long as you come to an agreement of what the base is before you activate the TIF, you're in good shape in that regard. So don't look at those as, again, we want to follow what the agreement says, but you know, if you're off by a month or even 2 months, it's not going to be a major issue for the implementation of the TIF district.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. And also, quite frankly, this ties directly to our previous agenda item with the sheriff's tax settlement, does it not? So there we go. We already have the information.
Thank you.
Okay, Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Laura, I'm gonna come back to you again. So can we talk timeline, just because I know I've had a lot of questions from the community, like, you know, is it gonna happen? Will it happen? So let's say hypothetically, in 30 days, I keep going to 30 days, that they say, hey, you're gonna get this federal fund. So at that point, I'm assuming an RFP will go out for the parking garage. You know, that will take a couple months. Parking garage gets, you know, broken ground. Will the owner of parcels B and C start on Washington Street prior to the completion of the parking garage? Or I'm just trying to draw a picture for everybody watching and including myself.
Sure, and I'm trying to remember, and maybe Jim or Eric can help me remember where Washington Street will actually be in the process. Is Washington Street, Jim, do you know that? Is Washington Street going to be started upon completion of the garage or simultaneously with it?
I believe the concept here is that I'd have to look back at the development agreement specifically. A lot of this will depend, and I can't give you an exact date. I think the actual, under terms of the actual development agreement, the obligation of the developer to start on those actual improvements are with the completion of the parking garage. Now, there's other obligations in the development agreement that the developer has to do prior to that, including donating the land, doing the demolition of the Y, doing some other site development issues. One of the things that could happen is if the developer, it's very likely that the developer will be bidding on the construction of the garage. I think that that's a reasonable assumption. I think as a practical matter, even though that doesn't give the developer any leg up in the procurement process, because that's going to have to be a full and open process, I think if they are the builder of the garage and also then the developer of the other part of the deal, then some of those timing issues would be different and when they would actually start, because but I think that I don't have a great answer for you on that, but I do think that we would have to work through a coordination process with the developer of when those things have to happen.
And I will just found the master development agreement sitting right beside me. So it does say that construction of the Washington Street extension will begin immediately after the construction of the parking garage.
Okay, thank you. And is there any, have y'all done any timelines that say parking garage will take 2 months to build or anything like that? Has anybody put any numbers to paper as far as overall time period?
I'm not certain that we've put an actual time period on how long it will take. I think we'll get that information, of course, you know, as we put out the RFP, but I can tell you that our intention is we've been working on the RFP in anticipation of getting the grant. And our intention is that as soon as we get word on the grant, we will be ready to immediately get going with that RFP.
Okay, thank you.
I do think the process of the state application, though, will start and move forward even separate from the notice of the federal funds, only because to tie all that in, so that once the federal funds are known, then you would have wanted already to start that state process and possibly even have a preliminary approval of the state application process, so that when all these things happen, it can all start and come together. So a lot of things can happen concurrently while you're waiting on the certain things to occur.
So Mr. Parsons, when you say state application, I'm assuming that's the application for any tips that the state might offer?
That is correct, yes.
And then do you know what direction you all are headed with those? Because there's different avenues you can go, correct?
That is correct, and I don't think that final decision has been made. It's very, very likely that it will apply. I think it will at least be applying under the ad valorem program. There is a possibility we still need to meet on that, and so post-COVID, I mean, during this process, it's been a little bit difficult when we're in the approval process to have some of those meetings, but as soon as possible, I think we need to get together as a group to determine how we're going to move forward.
Thank you.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes. Mr. Parsons, you know, as you can remember, I was really concerned about transfer and of taxes generated. And here I see new, but it always pertains to new within the district. So I didn't see where the language was, and I just wanted to make sure. I'm a pretty literal fella. So I wanted to make sure that it's net new to the county as far as occupational tax is concerned within the district.
Yeah, it actually, if you look at the definition of revenues, the old revenues is the base. The base is the base, and it will be from that specific district. And that's not impacted by this transfer issue. It's when you look at the definition of new revenues, we added a provision on page 7 on the definition of new revenues. To make it clear, it says that new revenues shall not include any occupational taxes from existing businesses and their current employees that are located in Franklin County outside the development area that relocate into the development area. So when we are calculating the new revenue number for calculation of the increment, any existing jobs that relocate in will not be included, and that has been changed. So I think that solves the transfer issue that you were concerned about.
Where was that again, on page 7?
Yeah, if you look at the number 20, the definition of new revenues, it's really the last phrase. It starts the third sentence to the bottom, provided that new revenues. Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's page 10 in our book.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mine says page 7, but yours might have printed differently on the Word documents.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, see no other questions. Mr. Parsons, thank you. Ms. Ross, thank you. Mr. Cockley, thank you. And here we go. It's exciting times for us. It's been a while. It's taken a lot of effort, and we're getting ready to see the fruit from this labor. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. The next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending operation of County Fiscal Court, Chapter 30, Purchases and Contracts of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances by adding sections for sole source procurement, federal fund procurement, and effective federal grant purchase disclaimer. And Mr. Sparks, this is requirement from the federal government so we can spend federal monies. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. Did everyone in between their previous meeting earlier today and today get a chance to review that email string? And I know it's just first reading, but I did send you all the correspondence I received from Ms. Northcutt, as well as the suggested language, et cetera, so you could see the thought process that went into it. Did y'all get it?
Everybody see it? That needs to see it? Squire Sebastian, sorry.
That's okay. I'm okay to be called Squire Blackburn. I think that's a compliment. Thank you, Judge. I did want to ask you, Counselor, when that string was forwarded to us, I think the initial document that may have been sent to you, the attachment was not included. For some reason, it lists it as a file, but it does not present itself as a file to open.
That is the document. That is the one that is this one. That's the one you're looking at right now. The suggested language portion, is that what you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Yep, that's the one that's in item 5, ma'am.
Okay, so it's verbatim what we saw today in 5, from the top to the end, right?
That was the language that Ann provided me that was copied and pasted onto this. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I just wasn't sure because
Oh yeah, because I was not inclined to change that. That's, like I said, it's the golden rule. I was following it. They got the gold, they make the rules, and this is the rule.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to ask about that. Thank you very much.
No, that's exactly what I got, man. And now you all got everything I had. Thank you.
Okay, and Ann Northcutt is on vacation, and she'll be back next week. Any other questions concerning this first reading? Okay, the next item is authorization to approve Blood grant program payments. Ms. Brittany Woodward. Brittany, are you on?
I'm here.
Hey,
So, let's see. This program was put on by the Division of Waste Management. They made funding available, emergency funding available to all county governments that were impacted by the March flood. All residents who incurred costs associated with waste removal services were eligible to submit an application for reimbursement. The county received 2 applications, one from a resident and one from a business so far, and those have met criteria for reimbursement. The city of Frankfort also sent us their expenses since they were unable to apply for funding directly. The program also covers the cost of the dumpster services that the county utilized in the affected areas. And that our total so far is $1,152.58. Let's see, I'm still researching some county employee time and effort to include in that. To date, we have eligible expenses totaling $3,297.48 to apply towards that grant. Let's see, while the deadline has passed, given that we still have access to funds, we were awarded $25,000 in emergency funding. If anyone still has invoices or applications to turn in, please send them in as soon as possible. You can send those to floodgrants@franklincounty.ky.gov. And that's basically it. If I discover anything else before the report deadline of June 30th, that $3,297.48 may change.
Squire Moore.
Brittany, were the dumpsters that were down at Big Eddy and Travis Circle, were they included in this, or was that something else?
Yes, that's the county's expenses there of $1,150.
Okay, thank you.
Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Brittany, so can I assume that after June 30th, any money we don't use, quote unquote, apply for, we have to return the balance to the feds?
That is correct, and it's going to the state. It goes back to the state. We will have to return any unspent funds to the cabinet within 45 days of notification that that money needs to be returned.
Okay, thank you.
Squire Booth.
Thank you, Judge. The application can be made, but the money does not have to be spent until 45 days after the funding agency informs us that money needs to be returned. Is that right? We can make an application now. And
so we have received that $25,000 from the state, and we what's happening now is the application is available on our website. I will double check that it's still listed on there. I may have hidden it after the deadline had happened, so my apologies on that, but I'll get that back up there if it's not. So I have to make a final report to the state. I have to turn it in by June 30th. So then they take the time to review it, and they will let us know when, if there is money to be returned. If there were any unspent funds, they will have to be returned within 45 days of their notice to us. So all of the spending has to occur by the end of day, June 30th.
all of the requests for spending or all the spending? That's important.
All of the spending has to be reported to the state by June 30th.
Oh, well, if an application was made now, it would be very hard to spend all that money. Or
We have the money, right, Brittany? So
we have the money.
once these are approved, we will give the checks to the applicants. Is that correct?
That is correct. If the court approves the payment.
Okay, I got you. All right. Well, that's doable. Thank you.
And you're still accepting applications. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Will you make sure that site is put back up in case somebody is listening now and would like to apply for monies. And what do
Yes.
they need to have if they weren't aware of it at the first back a month ago, a couple months ago? What do they need to do when they apply? What do they need?
So it's a basic form. We just ask for a little bit of information, your name, address, the dates waste was disposed of, and you need to submit your invoices if you incurred costs. Something else that can be included is if residents utilize the landfill voucher program, you know, on a Saturday where they took some of their flood debris down there to the landfill and dispose of it at no cost to them, we can still reimburse you for that mileage. So if you want to submit an application, there's a spot on there that says, did you utilize the voucher program? You would say yes, and try to let me know what date you went. I can also check on my side of things, but that will only apply to those folks that are in those affected areas. So there's that part of it. And yeah, you just need to submit your invoices along with your application.
Oh, you have to invoices. That means the service has got to be completed in order to have an invoice. Is that right?
That's correct. So the applications that we did receive that were, it was basically one resident had a dumpster that was at his address, and it was hauled off. So he submitted that receipt. The other, the business that submitted, they also had a dumpster, an extra dumpster on their property, or an extra empty, and they submitted that receipt as well. So that's what these reimbursements are for.
Well, it's reimbursement. Okay.
Squire Mahler?
Thank you, Judge. Brittany, would you be able to post something on social media so we could, you know, get it around to our constituents?
Yep, not a problem. I did have those posts up before while the application period was open originally, but I will make sure to share another one for you. I'll get it up tomorrow.
Thank you.
Brittany, is it for any resident on the river and the creek?
It's for any resident by that flood.
What did she
So
say?
yes, the creek would count.
Okay. Squire Booth?
Are we still negotiating with Central Kentucky Hauling about their payments from us? Is that, I received a card today saying that I owed money, and it could be because of a rate adjustment. You know what to do with that?
We didn't understand your question, Squire Booth. I'm sorry.
Central Kentucky Hauling sent me a bill for services rendered as a individual resident.
Put it back in the trash can.
That's highly unusual. Brittany, will you work with Squire Booth on that? I don't know anything about, they shouldn't, Squire Booth should not. Did you have them pick up something extra?
No, I don't think so.
If you would give me a call tomorrow, I would be more than happy to look into that for you.
Thank you so much. I will, I'll take a picture of it with my phone and I'll email that to you, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. I'll take care of that for you.
Okay.
Well, no one else got a card like that today. I can't believe it. Maybe it's just me.
Squire Booth, I got one, but I told him to send it to your house.
Well, thank you,
I put mine in the red bag, big red box, and sent it right back to him.
Yeah, Lambert recycled his.
Yeah.
I didn't get one, but I got my Farmdale water bill today, which was past the date I was supposed to pay it. So there is a mail challenge in this community. I will say that again.
All right.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any other questions for Brittany? Brittany, thank you. And you got a couple things to take care of. We appreciate it. And I guess we'll see you back on the 30th with the final amount, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Brittany. The next item is authorization to hire seasonal golf and park employee. The Lakeview, Charlie can't be on. He said that there's a storm at Lakeview and it's not this the power out at Lakeview Park. It's amazing. We got sun out here and a storm at Lakeview, so
Oh,
interesting.
wow.
Betty, can you handle that for him?
Yes, I can. This is to hire a seasonal employee replacing an employee that resigned. There's money in the budget line for this. So we're recommending to hire this seasonal employee.
Okay.
It's a replacement. It's not an extra employee. It's a replacement. Actually, we've lost 3 this week, but we couldn't get any more on the agenda. So we had this one already in the works.
Okay. Squire Blackburn.
The first gentleman I see, I look at his application. He looks terribly overqualified.
For $7.25 an hour? I think so, yeah. A former principal of a school.
Judge, it's 725 up to 10.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You got former parks director there too.
Yeah, former parks director and former city commissioner
Unless
as
he went
well.
on the quit.
Yeah, all right. Any other questions on the golf park employee? Okay, the next item is authorization to award a bid for the fire department uniforms to Gall. Chief Brewer, okay?
Yes, thank you, Judge. Good evening, court. The current uniform bid for the uniform contract for the fire department is set to expire June 30th. May 21st through the 23rd, we're running an ad advertising for bids for uniforms. A total of 3 bids were received, with Gauls being the lowest bidder, and they met all specifications, and Gauls is the vendor that we are recommending for the contract.
Have you been using Galls?
Gauls is the current contract vendor we have right now.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Squire Booth, you had a question? We can't hear you, Squire Booth.
That was my question, whether they were the current supplier of the uniforms.
Okay.
So you ask it for me.
Okay, okay. Any other questions concerning the uniforms? Okay, thanks, Chief and Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is second reading approval of an ordinance relating to the budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. Miss Susan.
Yes, good evening, court. We submitted our proposed budget to the state for form and for formality, and the constructs that they give us for uniform chart of accounts, and they came back with an okay, and the budget basically in their mind is ready to go for the county. Again, we'll highlight some of the things that it includes. There are, as you know, the budget is organized by types of categories for purpose of services, and our budget is very full with protections to persons and properties. It is a fund budget, but across those funds, a lot of the categories have those protective services and safety services. So our budget has a continuation of a countywide fire department fully funded with no additional revenues. The budget has a lot of capital items, including a park feasibility study and a study for a road facility, as well as vehicles in multiple departments and items that will last more than this budget year, that cross over from budget years. Obviously, the largest item and one of the largest items in the budget is the uniqueness of the federal monies that are going to be passing directly from the feds to the county. That is included as a budget item, as a contingency right now for specific distribution later on. And again, to tag on with Miss Brittany Woodward's information, the household waste collection is still included for every county household with no additional fees. The The road fund has $850,000 worth of bridge and paving projects included in that fund with county dollars, as well as the overall 2% COLA for county employees. So it is a very, seems to me like a very fiscally responsible budget, and has been thoroughly vetted for sure by the court members. And I'm hoping that the recommendation for passage will be completed tonight, and we can move forward with this estimate and this beginning for our plan for our new fiscal year as a starting point, and that we can do what we need to do as things come up along the way.
Susan, did the other day you showed me a pie chart. Are you going to use that as a?
Sure. Mr. Tippett, do you have that available?
Okay.
Yeah. As I said, because of our uniform chart of accounts and the way we have to submit our budget to the state, it categorizes all of our expenditures by fund and then by certain purpose areas of service, such as protections to persons and property, social services, capital projects, and so forth. So I reconfigured it to cross funds and to aggregate some of the categories across funds, instead of doing it by fund, to do it by category and to aggregate those. So as you can see, the federal money, the federal restricted money, the big red pie at the bottom, or big red slice at the bottom of the pie, is over $5 million of restricted funds that we will be revisiting, I'm sure, throughout this coming year. And then almost another $5 million is associated with capital projects and equipment. One of the largest of those being our energy project and rehab at the jail, at the local jail, and the energy savings that we're anticipating from that investment. So there's large investments being incorporated in an appearance of a one-time budget, but they will last for many, many years to come. And then you can also see, I believe, that a large part of our budget is people. So human resources are a large part of our organizational infrastructure for delivering the services in the county. And once again, our countywide fire department and our countywide protection through the sheriff's office is a large part of the budget, and the related expenses associated with that, and facilities that accommodate the operations of the facilities that accommodate our human resource investment are shown in the shades of green. And you can also see that we have countywide ambulance service in this community through our general tax rate. All of these items are through general services that many other counties have special districts and special revenues for, and we have a continuation of our services without any of those additional fees in this presentation of the budget.
I would like to say, I'm sorry I didn't ask you first, Judge. I congratulate you on this pie chart.
Okay. Squire Muller. Squire Muller.
Thank you, Judge. Susan, again, thank you very much. I guess first and foremost, to Squire Booth's point, would we be able to get a copy of that pie chart? I think that's a pretty good visual to see. And I just have two questions on the budget. I guess we didn't get an updated copy, but I just want to make sure, looking at the old one, can you tell me what the budget number for the sheriff vehicles might be?
Yes, just a moment. There were no changes in the budget. That's why you didn't receive another copy. There were no changes. It was static from the state. The law enforcement vehicle appropriation in the fiscal year 22 budget is $87,000.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question is the mechanic for the fire department, what number is in there for that position, please?
I believe it was the very same number that we had discussed. There was no change in that. It was because it was based on, the only change that we made was making it a part-time position instead of a full-time position.
I never did see the revised number though. I don't think we talked.
Yes, it was, well, because the number wasn't changed. It was the same number in the last court meeting or the last budget meeting that we had. There was no change in the dollar amount. It was just changed from a part-time or full-time position to a part-time position. So Chief Hutcherson, do you remember, it was 41,000, I think, is what we left in the appropriation line to hopefully be able to accommodate even the part-time position at this point.
Susan, we did amend that number. We based it on
Okay.
we based it on market value. We found believe it or not, we found a part-time mechanic, fully qualified, not saying he'll work for us, but fully qualified, and we utilized his hourly wage. Chief Brewer, do you have that available?
Okay, well, I can say that change was incorporated into the 525 meeting presentation, and that was in the reflected in those figures at that time.
I thought so. I appreciate it, Susan.
What was it, $6,000 adjustment or something like that, Chief?
Yeah. I believe the total come in at 35,100, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay, so that's about $6,000 adjustment down.
So it only dropped 6,000 going from a
Well,
full-time.
no benefits, so it'd be a big difference in that.
I still have concerns with the current mechanics that we have because I don't think that's gonna align. So I don't know if anybody, I don't know. How many hours have you all assumed that the mechanic would work, please?
For part-time, we figured 22 and a half hours.
Yeah, you're limited not to no more than 99 hours a month.
And as Squire Moore said, this doesn't include any benefits. So part-time, most part-timers we hire at a higher rate than they would normally make because there are no benefits.
Squire Tracy?
Chief Hutcherson, what's that breakout to an hourly rate? And is that in line with I understand the whole part-time, full-time stuff, but is that in line with what our full-time mechanics make?
Squire, I don't have a clue what our full-time mechanics make, but I can tell you it's market value out there for an individual with these certifications, which my understanding is our road department guys do not have that fire certification.
Let me ask Tambra a question. I believe when we have new positions, we establish the position as part of the budget, and then we have to vote on the 30th of their salary. Is that right?
Yeah, that would come before us.
Yeah.
Right, so you all, yes.
That's at the maximum.
Yeah, that's the maximum. So it could be voted on separate. It will be voted on separately. Will that be in July or on the June meeting?
We can, if we have, which I believe we do have all of the job descriptions ready for the other two part-time positions as well. We can put those before you on the June 30th court so that you all can evaluate those positions, vote to approve them, and if we need to assign them into the salary scale and at least have that salary range for them.
Okay, everybody understand that?
So this mechanic would be 1099?
No, as being an employee.
Employee.
It's not a 1099 be a contract.
Right, that's what I thought we were doing. Okay.
No, it'd be a part-time employee
Okay, thank you.
with no benefits. Okay, other questions? Squire Tracy. Squire Tracy.
Thanks, Judge. I too would like to thank Susan and everyone else that was involved in regards to preparing the 2022 budget. as she mentioned, the 2022 budget is very unique, especially when you're looking at the federal money and the 2021 rollover capital projects that are in it. One thing I'll go back to this one thing I said at the last meeting as well, is I'm still not quite sure why we would hire a part-time planning position or approve it when we just entered into a contract with Bluegrass Ad through 2022 for their services. So I'm just going to try to echo what I said last time. So,
well, remember we entered into a contract with Bluegrass Ad for planning services because of a conflict of interest. One being your brother being one, the other being Squire Mueller, the second for zone change. And so that's a normal way to do things. And that's why we do it. It doesn't matter if he didn't have any new one or not, we wouldn't be able to use our staff because of the conflict of interest with family members requesting.
right. No, I'm just expressing my thoughts. Again, I think Squire Moore even made reference to it as well. That I feel like that would give us some numbers to look at when that, or if that came up. I mean, like I said, we're in a contract with them through 2022, $75 an hour. I'm just telling you where I'm at on that.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. And I do recall Squire Moore making a comment in an unrelated part of a meeting when this came up, that would be something that we could look at potentially using since we had this 2-year contract. So I would think that would be a good opportunity. And I know in the compensation committee and the benefits committee, a number of times we've discussed contracting out for services like this when we saw a need. So this would be a good opportunity to test the proof of concept, I think, on that. So I think that's a good point. Squire Tracy brings up, and Squire Moore spoke that earlier when we discussed it in the budget. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we can still look at that. If that wouldn't work out, then we've got this to fall back on. Right?
Yeah, right. Mr. Hewitt, do you have those two squires we're talking about a part-time planner. Do you want to elaborate?
Well, Judge, if the court decides that they want to utilize the contract with the Bluegrass Ad, I'm more than happy to use them to their full potential.
Gonna cost more probably in the long run with what.
That's what I mean by we could look at both issues and both opportunities if we.
Well, Judge, with the duties that I'm asked to perform on behalf of the county government, due to the lack of those activities being within any other position's job description, along with the increased activity of development and growth in the county, that was the reason why I asked for the part-time position. And as you said, the contract with the Bluegrass Ad was just for, issues, whether it be, leave of absence, conflicts of interest, vacations, things of that nature. So, but if the majority of the court decides that it's best to just keep with the contract, then I will utilize them, as I said, to the fullest extent that I can to ensure that services through my department are being provided to the constituents and the community in a timely manner.
I'm not sure the Bluegrass Ad's got enough staff.
That's what they got one guy. I don't think
to handle what you're asking for. Plus, then it's going to cost a lot more money. It's $75 an hour.
Yeah.
Well, if the ad does not have the ability to provide that service, then employees can only process so much information at one time, whether it be applications or otherwise. So, I mean, we'll just get to things as we can get to them. I mean, you can't pour 10 gallons of water in a 5-gallon bucket and expect it to hold it all.
Okay. Squire Mueller?
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, I've thought about this a lot myself, and I know Mr. Hewitt does a ton for this county, but it seems like a lot of what he's asked to do is not necessarily planning and zoning. And so, as much as I appreciate it, I would almost be curious, as far as all the extra duties that he does. And I think I would like to see who else do we already employ that could help Mr. Hewitt, because it seems like, he's mentioned special projects and different things, and even writing RFPs, I think that could be done within house by somebody else. So I think, to me, a lot of this goes down to really looking at, everything that Robert's doing, and who here can help you take some of that off your plate, so we can get back to planning and zoning. So, that's kind of where I'm right now.
And that's a great statement. We don't have anybody that can do the things that special projects.
Nobody create an RFP? and stuff?
Nobody can do an RFP. Everybody, that's because Robert's been doing RFPs. And doesn't feel comfortable doing RFP. She asked Robert to do it. She would be the next person that would be in line to do it, but she doesn't feel comfortable doing them, she said.
I just think it's a perfect opportunity to maybe have him write down all the things that he's doing in addition to planning and zoning. And maybe we hire somebody to cover a lot of those other things that aren't planning and zoning related. I think that's what I would.
Well, you got a half-time position in there to
help him out right now.
if you wanted to go a different route with
Right,
it, you
but,
can
but
do
we're,
that.
but we're guessing at this point as far as what we need. I guess that's where I'm at. Because we don't know.
Well,
He knows what he.
I'm gonna say the person
know
that
what you're
is
saying,
saying, they are saying, this is what I need to operate my office. So that's what they're saying.
But what worries me is he's saying he needs another part-time planning and zoning person. But I'm curious what all the other stuff is that he's doing that's not planning and zoning. And it's nothing against Robert, don't get me wrong. It's just everyone throws everything on his plate, and his plate has grown so much. So I am just like, what is he doing in addition to planning and zoning? Because our focus in this community should be planning and zoning. I mean, we have got to get going on that. So that's kind of where I'm at, I guess.
Not sure how to answer that.
Well, Judge Wells, last year at budget time, I provided the court with a list of all the projects that I was working on at that time. That list has only grown. When it comes, in my opinion, in advising the court as to employees or qualifications, I serve as not only the planning and building codes director, but I serve the functions as a public works director. I also serve the functions of a procurement officer. I'm your GIS staff, as you saw today, with the county clerk and his voting locations and things of that nature. Those are all independent, individual qualities that you rarely ever find in a single individual. And I'm happy to perform those functions and assist the community, the constituents, and other departments. And that was the basis for my request for the full-time planner position. But as I said at the last meeting, part-time is better than no time. And any help I can get to continue to do what I do to help the county and to help save money and keep us in check, I'm happy to do it. It's just that the pools that I get for all those different areas just has only grown over time. And I love what I do. I love my job. It's the best job in the whole wide world. I just need a little extra help is all.
Robert, I appreciate that, but mentioning public works, GIS, I mean, what's to say we don't need to hire a part-time person just to do GIS or some of the other things you're doing? I'm trying to figure out how to help take stuff off your plate, and I don't want to hire a position of planning and zoning if that's not the person we need. I don't know if that's making sense to anybody else, but I'm not sure what else we need.
It makes sense, but I think Robert knows what he needs, is what I'm saying.
But
So
does
get
that
this
mean-
guy, and he can make,
but
he
does
can
that
have
mean
him do
our-
what he wants to
Does that
do.
mean our planning and zoning director is shifting roles to do kind of all this other stuff? And now we're gonna have a part-time person in planning and zoning. That's my fear, Squire.
I know what you're saying,
Rob,
but
Rob,
Robert's over all
Rob-
of that. But like
Robert, you
that's
asked
why
for this
Scott County's
part-time.
got 3 guys in GIS, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Look at
Robert,
South
you asked
Florida.
for, why did you ask for this part-time person as a planner? I guess that's the question. Why, do you think that person helps you more than anything else as a planner? You asked for a planner, nothing else, not as an assistant or anything, but you asked for a planner. Why did you do that, Robert?
I did that because the volume that comes through our office is the quantity of the volume relates to development and construction activities. Everything has to come through the planning division before it ever gets to a building inspector or an electrical inspector. I thought it would be too cost prohibitive to ask for someone more on the public works side. I'm comfortable with handling the high level issues. It's the day-to-day, the volume of phone calls and front counter work and reviewing plans for homes and decks and pools and questions and all those things that are extremely time consuming that consume Ben and myself. If we had someone else there, that could relieve and provide me some more time management to do the more complicated tasks, if you will. I believe if you ask the receptionist, the lion's share of all phone calls coming into our building is to my department. And it's nonstop. The calls are nonstop, and or the visits once we start, now that we've opened back up. And so we deal with complicated issues as it relates to land use, but also sanitary sewers and drainage complaints and problems and road construction and road inspections and things of that nature before they ever become county roads. Those are the extra things that I deal with on top of just planning and zoning. Planning and zoning department in Franklin County has become an umbrella for everything, it seems like, almost. And I'm proud of that. I'm happy to help. But we've gotten to a point now, because growth can mostly occur in the county because the city's pretty well built out. This is my 15th year at the county, and so I have seen the ebbs and flows, and 2020 was the greatest year of permits that we've issued in the last decade. And we've got documentation to show that, and I believe I handed that to the court. So if I could have someone at least on the lower end of the scale that could help with all the day-to-day, the constant calls and visits and simple reviews, that helps free me up, because I have a planning supervisor who's doing technical reviews, who's doing technical staff reports, who's great at public presentations, who's at the Planning Commission right now doing his job. And so I'm very fortunate to have a very intelligent man in that position. And if we had someone on the entry level side, I think that's cost effective, and I think it's the best way to handle the issue that we're dealing with now, in my opinion.
Squire Booth.
Thank you, Judge. I want to say that when I became a magistrate I started serving as a magistrate in 2015, throughout my district, which at the time, and I still think it is, the most scenic and desirable district to have a home in, not a business, but a home. There was a lot of extra cost to the county because the plans for subdivisions and the plans for other land use were not vetted thoroughly or diligently, And once the county accepted the plans, they had to, I was told that the county was responsible for fixing what was wrong. And the subdivision you live in, Heritage, was one of those subdivisions. And that was not the only one that cost us money because, and when Robert was appointed, he was a professional. We didn't have a professional before. So I think we have to do what we can to keep him and his staff working in this county. That's my opinion.
Squire Mueller.
Thank you, Judge. I guess one last thing, and Robert, again, I do appreciate what you do, but everything you just named, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, do we need to hire on staff? You know, all those things, the public works and all those GIS and CAD and stuff like that. I mean, to me, that would fall under a licensed engineer. So I guess what I'm getting at is I just want to make sure we're hiring the right thing that you need to be our planning and zoning director.
He's telling you that. Now, remember, he asked for a full-time position and it was cut to a half-time position.
And I think he knows what he needs, so that's what he's asking for.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna cost as much as what you're saying, when he can do the job himself.
I just feel like he's getting away from planning and zoning. He's a director.
Well, he's still gonna be overseeing all of it and doing it. It's just gonna be a little
He
bit of help
makes
for
he
him.
makes the final decisions on anything that needs to be decided upon. It's his, the buck stops with Robert.
That is correct. I review all technical reports before they become public record. I review all technical review assessments before they are sent to the project engineer. I handle all floodplain administration independently myself. I don't let the other staff handle that. So, yeah, Judge is right. It all comes through me.
We need to keep him.
I hope that's not what we're talking about here.
No.
All right. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. Okay, let's go to the treasurer's report, Miss Susan. And payment of claims, Susan, too. I see.
Second reading.
Did I apologize? I am so sorry. Second reading, approval of amendment number 4 to ordinance number 2, 2020 relating to budget fiscal year. I apologize, Susan. I'm so sorry.
Yes, once again, we have to send it to the state for their examination and review, and they signed off on it, so it meets form and classification and is accurate with information supporting documents that were submitted and is ready for approval.
That's basically what we were just talking about. Okay. Now, let's do the treasurer's report, Susan.
Yes. As always, you receive a financial report in with your packet at the point in time of the posting when the packet goes out. And with the approval of this amendment, I may say that will let's see, bring our budget to, I think it's about $41 million, which is a record phenomenal, exceptional time in counties pretty much statewide because of the federal funding that is passing through. So when we look at this, it's going to be a standout time for the fiscal court and for the financial records for sure. We are at the year end we have one more court. There'll be a lot of activity for our year-end cleanup for accounts and that will need that may need funding, as well as some cash transfers again for most likely the fire and jail. funds, but again, those are budgeted and things that we plan for. It's just the nature of county government, but it's an historic fiscal year, and it will be an historic next 4 years for sure, with the amount of opportunities for investment for the county and infrastructure.
Okay. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay. All right, the next item, Susan, payment of claims, and TAMBRA, payment of claims. Are there any questions on the payment of claims? Payment of claims. Did you have a question, Squire Blackburn?
Did we go over budget transfers?
We didn't have any.
That was the supplemental report we got this afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay, payment of claims, bills. Okay, next item is other business. You have another other business? Yes, go ahead. Yeah,
Thank you. You know, as we were sitting here looking through, I brought some of my old papers and everything. Just got me thinking about everything. And I was wondering if we could go ahead and schedule strategic planning, because I looked through all these notes. I mean, they're just filled with things, some things we've done and some things that we kind of need to do. So I was wondering if I could make a motion that we go ahead and schedule a strategic planning meeting with department heads, so we could start where we left off when the pandemic hit.
We will. Yes, we can, and we will, and we'll have Pam call you all. Now, it's been hard to catch you all, so and that's with you and Squire Sebastian and the department head. So she'll set that up. Probably won't be till July, but we'll get on that. We absolutely can. We will.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Judge and Squires, could I also ask that constitutional officers be involved in that strategic planning, because there's been a lot of you don't want, if you're going to have a strategic planning, you got to be strategic, which means you need to know the lay of the entirety of the land, not just the topography of the area you're looking at.
Well said.
More the merrier. I'm all for it. I also, and I know, Judge, last time we briefly touched on it, but you know, if I could make a formal motion, I would love to have a meeting with the city to sit down and discuss economic
I
development.
have called the city. I've asked city manager to get Lane, the mayor, on board with it.
Okay, well, he hasn't as of yesterday, so I talked to the mayor and all the city commissioners, and they're wanting to in July.
The mayor is asking for it in July. Well, he hasn't called me because I've talked to the city manager. I said, please talk with the mayor and let's get a meeting scheduled. Okay.
Squire Mueller, I'll second that. Just from what I'm hearing from different ones, it's long overdue.
This is not a voting session.
Did he not make a motion?
But the meeting hasn't been called to order.
Okay, so do it another business. Okay, gotcha. Or in the other one, to accept him making a motion. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I've already told you we're doing it.
And y'all, I'd sure be very cautious about calling the city commission. You're setting them up for open records and open meetings violations when you do a rolling meeting with the quorum of the city commission. I appreciate your honesty on that, Michael, but if you do a full survey of all of the members, just like if somebody called you and surveyed it, that is like square one violation of open meetings.
Yep.
I misspoke. I spoke to one commissioner and the mayor, so.
Well, you said it twice. We've said it in 2 meetings now that both of them represent a quorum, and I will emphasize again, do not do that.
Okay. It was a follow-up. Okay, I'm just going to, okay.
Okay. At this time, I would like to bring Squire. You go ahead, Squire Tracy. I had the floor, but I'll yield to you.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Judge. Go ahead. You got it.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to bring Abby Phillips in, the person behind the scenes. Abby, I know you can hear me. Would you come in, please? I want to introduce you to the person behind the scenes, Abby. Maybe she
might have her headphones on listening to music.
She probably is, but there she is. Come in here. This is the person behind the scenes for the plant board. Abby, come over here. You know the drill. I want to introduce Abby to you all and to the general public. Abby's been behind the scenes for how many years now?
I guess almost 3 now.
Well, good. You've been excellent in keeping us going and making sure that we can be seen as well as heard. And it's unfortunate, but fortunate for her, unfortunate for us. But Abby has received a scholarship to go to King's University in London, England, to work on her master's degree in film studies. So this will be her last meeting, and I wanted just to recognize her and say thank you.
Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Abby. God bless
I don't know
you.
if there's any more pencils there or not for you. It's beyond the watch.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything else in other business? Squire Tracy, I'm sorry. Yes, yeah.
Thank you, Judge. A couple things. Can you give us an update? Obviously, I sent out an email in regards to the home health agency and was eventually told that they were, I guess they were informed by their attorney not to touch on it or not to talk about it or discuss it. And then there came a State Journal article basically the next day after we were told that they couldn't discuss it. So as someone that's on the board, can you give us an update on what's going on? Because I'm getting calls right and left over it.
Yeah. She is coming to the 30th fiscal court meeting to talk about it. But what is your question, Squire? I'll give you an update. What specifically do you want to know? And I'll see if I can answer it.
Yeah, well, one question would be, looking back, how many places was it advertised that it was going to be closing? The only source that I could find was the Lexington Herald. It may have been in the State Journal, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
All the people that use the home health agency at the Franklin County Health Department were notified and are being worked with to make sure that they have a coverage from another provider. There are several providers in Franklin County, and they are all being aided and helped to making sure that their needs will continue with another provider.
Okay. And as far as the the certificate of need, obviously it appears that this one is for sale. Are there other certificate of needs available, or is this kind of like other license per se? There's only a quota, and then if there's none available, you have to purchase one from someone.
That is the area that in our meeting last night I cannot elaborate on. That the attorney has asked us not to discuss the certificate of need.
Okay. And was the decision made off of this past year, or has the decline has it been far back, or was the decision just made off of last year of closing?
It has been accumulation of time, but this past year has been extremely difficult.
Right. Obviously with COVID.
Let me say costly.
Okay, obviously with COVID. So would they qualify for COVID monies, COVID funds?
Hasn't been discussed.
It has not been discussed. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's just, I don't know, mind-boggling to me. It's been very successful for the last 40 plus years.
Well, okay, let's make clear that health department's not shutting down.
I understand that. I'm talking about the home. I understand that. I'm talking about the home health. But it's my understanding, it's like I said, it's been successful for the last 40 plus years, according to the article in the State Journal. They're in good standing. If they are eligible for COVID dollars, I can't imagine us not trying to help them. So that's just my
She'll be here on the 30th, and you can ask those specific questions.
Okay, okay, yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. As your county representative, I guess maybe you may have this information. Will any of the staff that is on board at the Franklin County Health Department lose their jobs because of this closure, or will they be transitioned to other duties assisting our community?
As part of our discussion, they will be transitioned to other areas.
It's good to know that none of the staff will be losing their jobs because of the closure or the potential closure, I guess, of home health. Is it a foregone conclusion that that will transition away from the health department?
Yes. Yes. I mean, the board has voted. It's been recommended that they stop the home health program, that program.
And just one other question, was that based on a financial decision? Because as we know, government provides a lot of services that aren't necessarily money makers or lucrative in the market, but they do that in support of to ensure that there is a healthy, holistic community that we're all part of. So I'm just wondering if that was kind of the basis for the decision.
The director of the Franklin County Health Department recommended to the board, because of financial reasons, that the board do away with the home health program.
Do we know, Judge, or was that decision that was brought up by the director, are other communities across the Commonwealth, and this may have been part of the conversation, are they experiencing some of the same challenges, I guess, that the health department director here must have shared in that meeting?
Yes. Yes, there have been several talked about. I'm not at liberty to talk about those, but yes, that was a question that was brought to the director. Are there others? And yes, there are several. This is not just indigenous to Franklin County. It is happening across the state.
Do we know if it is sort of a prospective proclivity where this is going to rapidly roll across the Commonwealth, like 10%? Did they give us any kind of, or give, I guess, the members in the room where the discussion was had, if this is something that is a large trend, or I'm still trying to
You'll
get
be here on the 30th. You can ask that. That's more of a technical question that she would know than I would know, because I'm a board member. We didn't get into that kind of detail of where other than there are others that are closing across the state.
I only ask that because I too have had several folks just reach out, and they have built personal relationships with those providing this care. And sometimes, individuals, when they build that personal relationship, especially when it comes to your healthcare needs, it is a challenge for them to step away from a caregiver who they feel confident in providing quality care to them. So I'm just sharing that from that perspective of people reaching out who were emotional and impassioned about it.
I understand that I believe there are 28 people utilizing the home health agency, and every one of them are being, to the best that they can do, assigned to another agency that will provide the service to them.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, anything else from that? Are there any constitutional officers, department reports, or committee updates? Squire Tracy, you want to give us an update on the feasibility study, or there's Charlie Lewis on that one?
I just was going to touch on the car show,
okay, great.
and
Great.
talk about how big of a success it was and how excited people were. Squire Moore was there spending money. I think that
Hey, I
sent a lot
want
of
a
them,
sandwich.
sent a lot of them in shock. But he brought his wallet. It was a great night, great weather. Everybody enjoyed themselves. And it's my understanding there were over 100 cars there.
All right. Thank you for that report. Charlie Lewis.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks, Court. And Squire Tracy, thanks for the report on the car show. I was on the mighty Elkhorn Creek that evening and was unable to make it. So I'm glad the weather cooperated and went well. Yeah, we had our kickoff meeting June the 2nd with the Hitchcock Design Group. Went well. We had 15 to 18 people there, I believe. And we have our next meeting scheduled for Wednesday, June the 23rd. And those are actually stakeholder meetings. I sent an email to the park committee and those in attendance that night. They're doing a 1 o'clock, a 2 o'clock, and a 3 o'clock at the Carter House. Trying to bring in as many stakeholders as we can.
When is this, Charlie?
23rd, June 23rd. That's on a Wednesday.
And are they doing this in person, having people come in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to meet at the Carter House again. Yes. Yeah. So the park committee, please check your email. There's some contacts out there that we do not have names associated with them or phone numbers and emails. So we want to build that list and invite as many people as we can. And then we'll get together up to 15 people is what at each time slot. So 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, up to 15 stakeholders in those time slots on the 23rd. So
is that going to be at the Carter House, did you say?
yes, sir, at the Carter House.
Okay, very good.
Charlie, will that be eligible for remote appearance and participation?
That's a good question. I think we can make that happen. Set up like a Zoom.
Yes, sir. Just wondering for those who like to Zoom.
Yeah, and that would offer the availability if we're limited because of social distancing and individuals who may not be vaccinated who want to come and participate in person. That would up the ante on people who could participate. I appreciate the counselor suggesting that. I was poised to do the same. Thank you, counselor.
Thank you, ma'am.
Will do. I'll get with Andrew. We'll set that up.
Okay, dope. Squire Mueller.
Thank you, Judge. Can I go back to other business real quick? I think the court received an email about a road that was put in or something. And I didn't know if.
Ray Kenny's been out of town. He was supposed to be back today. And
Tommy sent the they are eligible for FEMA. It's a private drive. The county was not involved with that.
Yeah, but they crossed somebody's private property.
I know, but the county was not involved. It's private property. A private landowner allowed 2 other residents to go across their property. They are eligible for FEMA, and Robert has contacted them with how to apply for FEMA monies.
But Judge,
Well, what about that $25,000 from the flood damage? I think we could make an application.
I'm sorry. Well, that won't work, Squire.
No, Judge, the problem is I think the landowners insinuated that they had permission, but they did not to go through somebody else's property. That's where the problem lies. It's going to cost a whole lot to put the road back the way it's supposed to be. So it's still up in there.
Well, I mean, it's private. We can't do it.
Well, we didn't put the road.
We didn't put the road.
We didn't put the road.
No.
Yeah. No.
That's what I was worried
The
about.
landowner did.
No.
But
The wrong landowner. The one that didn't own the land, we put the road on.
yeah, the road going to them got washed out. So they built the road through the neighbor's property without permission.
Okay.
So it's a mess, but hopefully we get it straightened out.
Thank you. Squire.
Okay, anything else? All right, 5-minute break. It is at 6:45. It's actually 7-minute break, 6:45. We will reconvene.
Sounds good.
Recess, 6:45. Welcome, everybody. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. This is the Franklin County Fiscal Court, June 10th, 2021 voting session. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Squire Sebastian,
Here.
Squire Blackburn,
Present.
Squire Mueller,
Present.
Squire Tracy,
Here.
Squire Booth,
Present.
Squire Moore,
Here.
Judge Wells.
Here. Would you please stand for the pledge? And the pledge tonight is from the McDaniel children. Andrew?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, McDaniel. That flag was a great background. That's awesome. Thank you so much for doing that, the pledge for us. Okay, the next, first item on the agenda is authorization for approval of minutes from our regular meeting of May 27th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Second, moved by Squire Moore, seconded by Squire Sebastian. All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Mueller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is authorization to receive the sheriff's 2020 tax collection settlement for collections period of June 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded by Squire Mueller, moved by Squire Blackburn. Discussion. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Mueller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is second reading and approval of an ordinance of the Franklin County, Kentucky Fiscal Court approving the execution of a local participation agreement relating to the establishment and implementation of a developmental area tax increment financing district known as the Downtown Frankfort Development Area within the city of Frankfort, Kentucky.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I'm going to explain my vote this evening, as I did at the last meeting. I think up for approval today includes financial expectations from Commonwealth Economics, which many have questioned the veracity of those. The total economic impact being 800 million, and I think they quoted 469 jobs annually for the community. Many have also discussed the requirements of the garage, from it being in the Commonwealth's RFB that noted that the successful bidder would be the responsible party for the construction, to the inclusion in this document, with it now being the responsibility of the city. And then proceeds, obviously, from what we're discussing tonight will help cover that. So I'll say this, I'm eagerly hopeful that the community will benefit from these lofty projections, but I remain challenged by the duration of the pledge, the reliability of the economic impact projections, and assuming the liability of a garage that will be in the immediate vicinity of 2 existing garages. So therefore, I'll vote no.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Mueller,
I would like to say that I am proud of the court for coming together, hopefully, and supporting the city. I know it's been a hard time to get here. There's been a lot of hoops and a lot of obstacles that most of us have to hopefully move Frankfurt forward. So I'm a yes.
Squire Tracy,
With the county coming together, and hopefully with the federal grant money, the elephant in the room, the parking structure, will be taken care of. I just hope now that the owners, developers will hold up their end of the bargain, unlike in the past, as far as requirements and obligations when they purchase the property. I hope they hold up their end of the bargain and see the project through. So, yes.
Squire Booth,
I want to mention that I was the only person in the initial meeting about the TIF district to mention the parking garage. And it was, you know, sort of tossed aside as a problem. And now it is the elephant in the room, as to quote Tracy. Got it. Squire Tracy. Okay. And but I think that it is good for Frankfurt. It's good for Franklin County. And I hope that the city and the county will continue to work together. I vote yes.
Squire Moore,
I'll be excited to see this get underway. I think it'll be a big boost to the city school system, to the Frankfurt Independent School System. And our cuts won't affect them in any way. So I think this will be a good thing. I vote yes.
Judge Wells.
I like what you said, Squire Moore and Squire Mueller. I think this is a collaboration of both city and county governments pulling together for the betterment of our community. And I think this is really unimaginable for a community to have 10 acres in the middle of its downtown that you can start over again, completely start over again, and put it back on the tax rolls. And there's so many advantages to that, and there is excitement. And we're going to do all that we can to make sure that it happens as quickly as it can and in the correct way. So with that being said, I vote yes. The next item on the agenda is the first reading of an ordinance amending the operation of Franklin County Fiscal Court, Chapter 30, Purchases and Contracts of the Franklin County Code of Ordinances by adding sections for sole source procurement, federal fund procurement, and effective of federal grant purchase disclaimer. The second reading will be on June 30th at our next meeting. The next item is authorization to approve flood grant program payments.
So move.
Second,
Discussion, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Mueller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, and there's still an opportunity if you have had issues with monies that you spent on flooding anywhere in Franklin County. You are eligible for this if you'll go to our website, franklincounty.ky.com or .gov. I'm sorry, .gov. You will see this. Please, there are some monies there, and we would love to use these. We don't want to turn these monies back. We'd rather you have these monies. So if you'll look at it, you're eligible. By all means, apply. If you have any questions, call our office, 875-8751. Talk to Brittany Woodward and see what we can do to help you with this. So let's get the money back to you and not turn it back to the state. The next item is the authorization to hire Greg Roush as a seasonal golf and park employee at Lakeview Park.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
He's terribly overqualified. Terribly overqualified. But he needs something to do, and I think he'll do a great job. I'm a yes.
Squire Mueller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to award bid for the fire department uniforms to the lowest bidder, Galls Incorporated.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Mueller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Let's dress them guys up. Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is the second reading and approval of an ordinance relating to the budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022.
So moved. Second,
Moved and seconded. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
I first want to thank the county treasurer and then all the county personnel involved in the budget development process. Having performed this kind of arduous task before myself, I know absolutely firsthand the amount of work involved in sometimes the words thank you may seem small compensation for the amount of effort that they have given through this process. So we've discussed a lot of novel inclusions in the budget tonight, $5.1 million in restricted spending. We talked about $5 million in capital projects. We talked about increased pension obligations, among others that have really inflated the county's living budget, which is somewhere between $27 and $28 million to where we see it tonight at 35. So with that, I vote yes on the budget presented to us this evening.
Squire Blackburn.
I want to echo Squire Sebastian's words with thank the treasurer and thank department heads, thank everybody that worked hard. I know the numbers were a moving target, and I appreciate all their effort, and I vote yes.
Squire Mueller.
I also would like to thank Susan for all her hard work, and I would just like to thank the entire fiscal court because we did our due diligence, and I'm a yes.
Squire Tracy.
As the county treasurer stated earlier tonight, the 2022 budget is very unique, especially when you take in consideration the federal money and the 2021 capital projects that are being rolled over. I'm also excited about our community coming together to share their thoughts on Lakeview Park and on how the federal money should be spent to move our community forward. I vote yes.
Squire Booth.
I vote yes, and yes, it was an arduous task.
I think that's an understatement, but thank you.
Squire Moore.
Yeah, I too want to thank Susan and all the fiscal court members. We didn't all get what we wanted, but we came together and we're passed a good budget. It looks very inflated, but that's a good thing too, I guess, with the federal money. And I vote yes.
Judge Wells.
I vote yes, and I want to say this, Susan, you're the best. Department heads, you're the best as well, and all the staff have put a lot of time and effort in on this. We've had 7, 8 meetings for the fiscal court. They've been at every one of them. Each of them have been at least 2 hours long to discuss the budget. So it is arduous, as you said, Squire Booth, and comprehensive, and everybody pulls together, and nobody gets everything that they want, but everybody gets something. And as part of this, the community is going to benefit because there's money here. Unlike any other time in my history, Lambert's history, maybe in the history of Franklin County, where so much money is there for projects to help this community. And we are targeting those monies to get out and help this community and the people in our community. And so I'm proud that where we are and what we're doing to do what we can to make this community better. With that, I do vote yes, which is, again, the second time. I get to vote twice on that.
Okay, but I'm only going to count it once.
All right. All right. All right, the next item is the second reading and approval of amendment number 4 to ordinance number 2, 2020, relating to budget for the fiscal year 2020-2021.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, thank you on that.
Mueller.
You
All right, call the roll.
Okay, Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Mueller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. Next item is authorization to receive the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian.
Yes.
Squire Blackburn.
Yes.
Squire Mueller.
Yes.
Squire Tracy.
Yes.
Squire Booth.
Yes.
Squire Moore.
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes. The next item is payment of claims. Is there a motion offered to deny any payment of any claim? I don't see any denial of claims. The claims are ordered to be paid. The next item and the last item is authorization to adjourn in record time. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so proud of this fiscal court. Record time.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Mueller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Squire Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wilk.
Yes, and before we adjourn, we will not meet until after the 21st of June, which is Father's Day. And I want to say this, we have fathers sitting at the table here, 4 of us. We have fathers that are magistrates, and we have fathers that are watching this. And Lambert, you can't deny that you're a father. You got to stay right here at the table. So thank you, fathers. It's awesome what fathers do, just like when we said to the mothers that on Mother's Day, that they were so much a part of our lives. Once again, our fathers are that way too. God bless. And Squire Sebastian, bless you as well. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for watching, and we are adjourned.
This time I'll be.
Here, here. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Thank you.